Donald Trump today.
I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that...
John Deere, one of the most iconic names in American agriculture, has just set off a political explosion. The company's latest decision to expand manufacturing beyond U.S. borders has triggered a fierce backlash from none other than Donald Trump. And he's not holding back. With threats of brutal tariffs and accusations of betrayal, Trump is determined to force John Deere back in line. But Deere isn't budging. This is more than just a clash between a business and a politician. It's a fight that could shift the future of American farming, global manufacturing, and the very definition of patriotism in corporate America. As this war escalates, farmers, investors, and rival companies are being pulled into the fray. So, how did we get here? And who stands to lose the most? Let's rewind. For generations, John Deere has been more than just a brand. It's been a symbol of resilience and progress in the heart of America's farmlands. Through wars, recessions, and political storms, Deere tractors have remained a constant. But that image is now under pressure. In a move meant to streamline operations and reduce costs, John Deere announced a strategic expansion overseas. New facilities, new markets, global growth. To the average business analyst, it made sense. But to Donald Trump, it was nothing short of treason. At a rally, Trump wasted no time turning this corporate decision into a rallying cry. In front of thousands of supporters, many of them farmers, he accused John Deere of turning its back on America. He proposed a punishing 200% tariff on any Deere product made outside the country. The goal was clear: make it economically impossible for the company to operate overseas. But this wasn't just about punishing John Deere. It was a signal to every other U.S. company: side with globalization, and you'll face the consequences. Instead of retreating, John Deere stood tall. Executives reaffirmed their commitment to the global strategy, citing the need to remain competitive in an increasingly cutthroat market. They weren't trying to disrespect American workers. They were trying to survive in a world where companies like Kubota and Mahindra are rapidly expanding. And as Trump's attacks grew louder, Deere stayed the course. No apologies, no compromises, just business. This put American farmers in an impossible position. They relied on John Deere equipment for decades. But many also deeply support Trump and his message of economic nationalism. So now, they face a dilemma: stick with the machines they trust, or stand by the man who promises to defend American industry. Some have already switched to brands like New Holland or Case IH. Others are holding out, hoping things will settle. But all are feeling the tension, and the financial pressure is only rising. If Trump's tariffs go into effect, it won't just hurt John Deere. It'll hurt the very people he claims to protect. Equipment prices will soar. And in an industry where profit margins are razor thin, that could be devastating. Already, small and mid-sized farms are struggling with fuel costs, extreme weather, and falling commodity prices. A trade war could push many over the edge. What's worse, these tariffs could invite retaliation. Countries like Brazil, India, or China might slap their own tariffs on American-made equipment. Suddenly, Deere's global expansion becomes not just smart, but essential for survival. The financial world took notice. Deere stock dipped, then rallied, then dipped again. Investors saw both risk and opportunity. On one hand, the company's refusal to bend to political pressure showed strength. On the other, Trump's base is powerful, and a farming boycott could hit hard. For Deere, this isn't just about sales. It's about brand loyalty, about identity, and about whether an American icon can remain competitive without selling out its roots. At the heart of Trump's argument is the idea of bringing jobs back. But there's a harsh truth he rarely mentions. Many of those jobs no longer exist. They've been replaced by machines. Automation has transformed manufacturing. From Detroit to Des Moines, factories are running with fewer hands and more code. Even if companies return stateside, they won't need the same workforce. John Deere knows this. That's why they're investing in AI, autonomous tractors, and precision farming tech. But that also makes them a target for critics who fear a future without jobs, and for politicians who need someone to blame. With Trump leading the charge, a boycott began. Farmers posted on social media. Hashtags trended. Pledges were made to abandon John Deere for good. Trump encouraged it, fanning the flames of outrage. But there's a catch. Switching from Deere isn't easy. The software, the parts, the tools, all integrated. Replacing it means replacing everything. And few farmers can afford that kind of overhaul, especially when many of the alternative brands also manufacture abroad. As John Deere navigates the storm, competitors see opportunity. Case IH, Kubota, and New Holland are ramping up marketing. They know that even a small shift in loyalty could mean huge gains, and they're watching closely, ready to pounce if Deere stumbles. At the same time, upstart brands and international manufacturers are testing the waters. Fendt, Mahindra, and Branson are pushing affordable, efficient alternatives. Some are betting on sustainability. Others are chasing automation. All are positioning themselves as the next big thing in agri-tech. Meanwhile, a new wave of innovation is making its way into the farming sector. Startups building electric, self-driving, and AI-assisted tractors are entering the scene. Companies like Monarch Tractor and FarmWise are drawing interest with their promise of cutting costs and increasing efficiency. These tools are built for a future where farms are managed with tablets and algorithms instead of wrenches and fuel. And while they're still in the early stages, their potential to disrupt the market is real. For decades, John Deere has dominated that space. Its name, its technology, its service network. It all adds up to deep-rooted dominance. But if farmers feel alienated or pushed aside by corporate decisions, even the most iconic brand can become vulnerable. Trust, once broken, is hard to win back. And Deere may soon learn just how much that trust was worth. But the real battleground isn't just in the fields. It's on Capitol Hill, on Wall Street, and in the minds of voters. Because this isn't just about one company or one president. It's about how America defines its future. Are we embracing a globalized economy where companies are free to pursue international growth? Or are we circling the wagons, demanding loyalty and punishing disobedience? Trump's movement is about more than economics. It's about symbolism, about sending a message that if you're not with us, you're against us. And John Deere, by choosing to expand globally, became a convenient target, a symbol of what some see as corporate betrayal, and others see as pragmatic evolution. But Deere's gamble might be one of the most significant tests of modern corporate independence. If it manages to ride out the storm, if farmers keep buying and profits keep growing, it will signal that businesses can chart their own course without caving to populist politics. On the other hand, if sales collapse, if competitors capitalize, and if Wall Street turns its back, it could be a cautionary tale that reshapes how corporations behave in politically sensitive times. There's no easy answer here. The stakes are enormous, not just for Deere, but for every business watching. Do you double down on a long-term vision and face the political backlash? Or do you pivot to protect short-term support and possibly lose your edge in future? For the average farmer, though, the calculus is more immediate. They need reliable equipment. They need parts, repairs, and support. They need pricing that doesn't break the bank. And in the middle of an economic storm, rising fuel costs, inflation, labor shortages, they don't have the luxury of playing politics. They just need something that works. Some are quietly buying Deere equipment despite the noise. Others are genuinely looking at switching brands, waiting to see if Kubota or Case IH can meet their needs. And a small but growing group is experimenting with new tech, taking a chance on startups that offer them a different kind of future. If enough of them make the leap, we could witness a major shift, not just away from John Deere, but away from traditional farming tech altogether. One where data, automation, and remote control become as vital as horsepower. But there's another dimension to this story: global politics. If Trump returns to power or gains enough political influence, his economic policies could become the norm. That means more tariffs, more restrictions, and more pressure on companies to stay inside national borders. It also means rising tensions with trade partners, retaliatory actions, and an increasingly unpredictable business environment. That's a scenario John Deere is preparing for. By expanding overseas, they're hedging their bets. If things get rough in the U.S., they'll have operations in markets that may be more stable or at least more welcoming. Brazil, India, Southeast Asia, these aren't just emerging markets. They're potential lifelines. But playing both sides is risky. If American farmers feel abandoned and international markets don't pick up the slack fast enough, Deere could end up squeezed from both ends. Not American enough for homegrown loyalists, not fast enough for global growth targets. All the while, investors are holding their breath. They don't care about politics. They care about margins, revenue, and long-term outlooks. So far, they've tolerated the volatility. But if the backlash turns into a full-fledged sales decline, even the most optimistic shareholders may bail. Which brings us to a deeper question. What exactly does American-made mean in 2025? Is it about where a product is assembled, where its parts are sourced, or where its ownership lies? In a globalized world, the lines are blurred. Most American companies rely on parts from half a dozen countries. Even many U.S. factories use components imported from Asia or Europe. So when Trump calls for manufacturing to come home, he's talking about an ideal that may no longer exist in any practical sense. And when companies like John Deere push for global expansion, they're responding to an economy that is already interconnected. Still, for many Americans, the optics matter. The idea that an iconic U.S. brand is shifting focus away from the heartland feels like a betrayal. And for a politician like Trump, that's all he needs. The narrative writes itself. They sold out. I'm here to bring it back. That message, simple, emotional, and direct, has enormous power, especially in rural communities where livelihoods are fragile and trust runs deep. Trump knows his audience. He knows how to paint villains and offer redemption. And John Deere, whether intentionally or not, walked right into the frame. But Deere is not playing politics. They're playing the long game. Their decisions are driven by supply chains, labor market logistics, and future growth. They know that political winds change. Presidents come and go. But a manufacturing plant built in India or Brazil will keep producing no matter who's in office. Still, the political reality cannot be ignored. Deere's leadership is now tasked with a delicate balancing act. Protect the company's future without alienating its foundation. That means navigating public perception, managing media narratives, and reassuring American farmers that they haven't been left behind. To do that, they've ramped up communication efforts. Town halls, dealer outreach, direct farmer engagement. Quiet but determined moves to remind their customer base that while strategy may shift globally, the heart of the company still beats in the Midwest. But it may not be enough. In coffee shops and grain elevators, the conversations are changing. Farmers are asking harder questions. Is John Deere still on our side? Are we just customers now or partners in something bigger? The answers aren't easy, and the consequences of getting them wrong could reshape the entire agriculture landscape. Meanwhile, Trump keeps the pressure on. His speeches get more aggressive. He's calling out Deere by name, painting them as unpatriotic, even corrupt. At rallies, chants of Buy American are aimed squarely at one of the most American brands in history. It's no longer just about tractors. It's about pride, memory, and the fear that something sacred is slipping away. Yet there's a paradox at the heart of it all. Many of the companies Trump praises, tech firms, energy giants, even automakers, also manufacture abroad. Some receive government subsidies while outsourcing production. Some contribute to campaigns. then send jobs overseas. The outrage seems selective, the rules unclear. But John Deere, perhaps because of its name, its legacy, and its visibility in rural life, makes an easy target. And for Trump, who thrives on conflict and loyalty tests, it's the perfect example to set. That's why this standoff matters. It's more than a dispute over tariffs or job sites. It's a referendum on what kind of economy the United States wants to be, one that adapts to a global marketplace, or one that draws a hard line and demands allegiance, no matter the cost. It also raises questions about corporate responsibility. Should American companies prioritize national interest over shareholder value? Can they afford to? And what happens if they don't? John Deere is betting that the numbers will win in the end. That if their machines are better, cheaper, and more advanced, customers will stick with them. That loyalty, though bruised, will survive. That innovation will outweigh ideology. But even if they're right, the road ahead is full of danger. Farmers may forgive, but they won't forget. Competitors are ready to pounce. And politicians are watching, calculating, waiting for their next opportunity to weaponize corporate behavior. The rest of the agriculture industry is watching too. CEOs, boardrooms, and suppliers are quietly adjusting their strategies. Some are considering reshoring to avoid a similar firestorm. Others are increasing offshore operations before future regulations tighten the screws. A chilling effect is creeping in. If John Deere loses his battle, if their market share shrinks, their stock crashes, or their brand erodes, it could serve as a warning shot to every American corporation. Step out of line and pay the price. But if they endure and come out stronger, it could set a bold new precedent. One where companies no longer fear political backlash, and the economics make sense. That's the high-stakes gamble unfolding in real time. Some believe Deere's strategy is visionary, that the future of farming lies in robotics, global supply chains, and smart systems that don't depend on borders. Others say it's a betrayal. Proof that even the most trusted American companies will chase profits over patriotism when it suits them. And caught in the middle are the people who grow the food, who feed the nation, and who just want a machine that works, a price they can afford, and a company that sees them as more than a number. As Trump doubles down, Deere holds its ground. Neither side wants to be the first to blink. What unfolds next will likely determine more than just the fate of a single company. It may dictate how every future standoff between corporate America and political populism is played. The message either way will echo far beyond the fields of Iowa or the boardrooms of Moline, Illinois. If John Deere prevails, it means a company can take on a political machine and still survive, maybe even thrive. It will encourage others to prioritize global competition, data-driven strategy, and long-term vision over reactive politics. It may also fuel a new wave of corporate independence, where CEOs feel empowered to push forward despite political headwinds. But if Deere falters, if their sales slip, their image suffers, and their core audience walks away, it will send the opposite message. That corporations must tread carefully. That loyalty to the flag isn't just symbolism, it's business. And that in an age of instant backlash, no brand is too big to boycott. It's a test of will, identity, and the friction between innovation and tradition. The truth is, farming in 2025 doesn't look like it did in 1955. And it won't look the same in 2035 either. Precision agriculture, environmental regulations, labor shortages, and digital tools are reshaping how food is grown. The industry is evolving whether we like it or not. The question is, who gets to lead that change? John Deere has the tools, the infrastructure, and the experience to be that leader. But leadership means taking risks. And with every risk comes scrutiny, especially when the risk challenges national pride. The irony of this battle is that both sides claim to represent the heart of America. Trump, with his calls for domestic loyalty and manufacturing revival. Deere, with its history of feeding and equipping the very backbone of the nation's farms. But they can't both be right. Farmers are left to navigate this high-stakes game while trying to make ends meet. They don't have time for politics. They're watching weather reports, market forecasts, and commodity prices. They want reliability, service, and return on investment. And they don't want to be forced into choosing sides. Yet here they are, watching their trusted green and yellow brand clash with the politician they voted for, both insisting they're fighting for farmer. And now, new forces are entering the picture. State lawmakers are considering incentives and penalties for companies that outsource. Farm co-ops are surveying members about brand preferences. AG influencers on YouTube and TikTok are taking positions, pushing videos that either defend or condemn Deere. The battle has moved from the fields to the feeds. Meanwhile, international markets are warming to the idea of a less U.S.-centric Deere. Brazil, India, and Southeast Asia are already building dealer networks, training local techs, and preparing for an influx of products that may no longer be prioritized in the U.S. There's a quiet shift in momentum, and it's global. But even if the company finds success abroad, it may come at a cost. The emotional bond between John Deere and American farmers is unique. It's generational. It's cultural. It's intimate. Losing that trust may hurt more than a missed sales quarter. It may redefine who Deere is at its core. The standoff is reaching its boiling point. Trump continues to hammer Deere publicly, using every microphone he can to question their patriotism. Deere continues to push forward with expansion plans, publicly measured but internally unwavering. Farmers keep farming. Investors keep watching. Competitors keep circling. No one's backing down. And maybe that's a clearer sign that the American economy and the people who power it are being forced to make decisions that go far beyond spreadsheets and stump speeches. They're being asked what kind of future they want to build and what kind of costs they're willing to bear to build it. As it stands, there's no definitive winner. Trump's words still move millions, but Deere's equipment still moves the earth. For now, they're locked in a strange, historic dance, one that's about power, loyalty, strategy, and survival. And every farmer, politician, CEO, and citizen watching knows one thing. This battle is just the beginning.